I pulled my collar up against the mountain chill that always settled over the Flatirons in late August. It was not just the cold, though. It was the text message glowing on my phone screen in the dim light of the parking garage. Nicole, we need to talk. BBQ this Saturday. Urgent. No greeting. No question mark. Just my mother's voice reduced to digital command. Lorraine Hartman did not ask. She summoned. I sat in the driver's seat of my 10-year-old Toyota, listening to the engine tick as it cooled. My thumb hovered over the reply button. I was 38 years old. I was a PhD candidate in history at the University of Colorado, about to defend a dissertation on labor movements in the American West. I had a fiancé who loved me, a wedding venue booked 3 years in advance, and a life that finally felt like mine. And yet a single text from my mother could still make me feel like I was 12 years old and had forgotten to thaw the chicken for dinner. You are doing it again. I jumped. Grant was tapping on the passenger window holding 2 grocery bags and looking at me with that patient, weary expression he reserved for anything involving my family. I unlocked the door. He slid in, bringing the scent of rain and rotisserie chicken with him. Mom wants us to come over Saturday, I said, staring straight ahead at the concrete wall. She says it is urgent. Grant sighed. He did not say no. He never said no when it came to supporting me, but his silence was loud. We had plans this weekend. We were supposed to finalize the seating chart for the wedding. We were supposed to have a quiet dinner, just the 2 of us, before the chaos of my final semester really hit. Is Brittany going to be there? He asked finally. I let out a short, humorless laugh. Is the Pope Catholic? Grant set the groceries in the back seat. He reached over and took my hand, his thumb rubbing over my engagement ring. The diamond was modest, but the band was vintage platinum, something we had picked out together at an antique shop in Denver. It felt solid, real, unlike the performance art my family called love. If we go, Grant said, his voice low and steady, we leave the second she starts. The second she makes a comment about your weight or your job or how Brittany needs something more than you do. Deal, I whispered. But I knew I was lying. I always thought I could draw the line, and then I would find myself erasing it with my own feet just to keep the peace. We drove home in silence, the kind that was comfortable only because we both knew what the other was thinking. Grant was thinking about how much he hated watching me shrink around my family. I was thinking about the bank account I had checked that morning. $15,000. My grandmother Margaret's entire legacy. The money I had put down on the venue 3 years ago before she died. It was the only thing I had left of her. That and the memory of her whispering in my ear at my college graduation, "Do not let them swallow you whole, Nicole. You are more than what you do for them." I wondered what she would say now. Probably that I was already half digested. The apartment was warm when we got in, filled with the smell of old books and coffee. It was our sanctuary. I started unpacking the groceries, putting the milk in the fridge, the pasta in the pantry. Grant turned on the radio, some low jazz station he liked. It was domestic, peaceful. Then my phone buzzed again. Another text, this time from Brittany. "Cannot wait to see you Saturday. Big news." The emoji stopped me cold. A baby. I leaned against the counter, feeling the blood drain from my face. Brittany was pregnant. Grant looked up from the mail he was sorting. "What is it?" I turned the phone to face him. He read the screen and his expression hardened. "Well," he said, "that explains the urgent BBQ. It explains more than that," I said, my voice trembling. It explains why Mom has been calling me 3 times a day for the last week. It explains why Dad actually liked my Facebook post about my research yesterday. They are circling the wagons, Grant. Circling the wagons was our code. It meant the family unit was about to contract around its golden child, and anyone on the outside, namely me, was about to be crushed. "Brittany has wanted a baby for years," I said, trying to be rational, trying to find the joy I should feel as an aunt. "This is good news. We should be happy for her." Grant walked over and wrapped his arms around me. He was warm and solid, a rock in the shifting sands of my life. "We can be happy for her," he said into my hair. "And we can also be careful. Remember the graduation dinner." I closed my eyes. How could I forget? The night I received my master's degree, the night that was supposed to be mine. Brittany had announced her engagement to Cole right as the appetizers arrived. The toast my father was about to make for me turned into a toast for the happy couple. I had sat there smiling until my face hurt while everyone talked about centerpieces and honeymoons. My degree sat in its folder on the empty chair next to me, forgotten. "This is different," I said, opening my eyes. A baby is life. It is not a competition." Grant pulled back and looked at me. His eyes were dark, serious. "With Brittany, everything is a competition, Nicole. Even biology." Saturday arrived with a gray sky that threatened snow. We drove down to Colorado Springs, the familiar landscape of the Front Range rolling by in a blur of brown and green. My stomach was a knot of anxiety. I had brought the potato salad. I had dressed in a neutral sweater and jeans, trying to be invisible. Trying to be the good daughter. My parents' house was a sprawling ranch style in a neighborhood that prided itself on manicured lawns and silent judgments. Cars were already lining the driveway. My Uncle Jerry's truck, my Aunt Janet's sedan, and right in the center, like a queen on her throne, Brittany's bright red convertible. We parked on the street. I took a deep breath, inhaling the scent of pine and impending doom. "Ready?" Grant asked, his hand on the door handle. "As ready as I will ever be," I said. We walked up the driveway. I could hear laughter from the backyard, the clink of ice and glasses. It sounded like a party. It sounded like a family that was happy. Maybe I was wrong. Maybe this time it would just be a celebration. Maybe I could just eat a burger, congratulate my sister, and go home to my quiet life. We rounded the corner of the house and stepped into the backyard. My mother saw us first. She was wearing a floral apron, holding a tray of deviled eggs. Her face lit up, but not at the sight of me. At the sight of the potato salad bowl in my hands. "Oh, good," she said, bypassing a hug to take the bowl. "You are finally here. We were about to start without you. Brittany is starving." She turned and bustled away, leaving me standing there with my arms empty. Grant put a hand on the small of my back. A gentle pressure. "I am here." We made our way through the crowd. My father was manning the grill, surrounded by smoke and men drinking beer. He gave me a nod. Just a nod. And then there was Brittany. She was sitting in the best patio chair, a cushion behind her back, her feet propped up on an ottoman. She looked radiant, glowing, and smug. Cole, her husband, stood behind her, looking like he wanted to be anywhere else. He gave me a weak smile. A fellow hostage acknowledging another. Nicole Brittany squealed, holding out her hands. "Come here! Look!" She pointed to her stomach, which showed the barest hint of a curve under her cashmere sweater. I forced a smile and walked over. "Congratulations, Brittany. That is wonderful news." "It is," she beamed. "We are so excited. Mom is already planning the nursery." Of course she was. I looked around. Everyone was smiling. Everyone was happy. For a moment I felt a pang of guilt. Maybe Grant was wrong. Maybe I was just bitter. Then Brittany's smile changed. It became sharper, a little more focused. Actually, she said, her voice carrying over the chatter of the party, silencing the nearby conversations. "Since you are here, Nicole, there is something we need to discuss." The air in the backyard seemed to drop 10 degrees. The laughter died down. Even the sizzling of the burgers on the grill seemed too loud. I looked at her, really looked at her. And I saw it. The look she used to get when we were kids, right before she snatched my favorite doll and broke its head off just to see if I would cry. "What is it?" I asked, my voice steady despite the trembling in my knees. "Well," Brittany said, smoothing her sweater over her non-existent bump. "You know how the baby is due in late January?" I nodded. "And you know how I have always dreamed of a spring wedding," she continued. "But obviously we are already married. I mean the reception, the big party we never got to have because we eloped." I felt Grant stiffen beside me. Brittany took a deep breath and looked up at me with wide, innocent eyes. "So, I was thinking," she said. "Since you are not getting married until September, and I really need to have my celebration before the baby comes, maybe you could let me have your venue." The silence that followed was absolute. I stared at her. My brain refused to process the words. My venue. The one I had booked 3 years ago. The one paid for with Grandma Margaret's money. the one place that felt like mine. What I whispered. Just the date, Brittany said quickly, as if it was a minor detail like borrowing a sweater, and the deposit, obviously. Since you used Grandma's money, it is really family money, right? So it should go to the person who needs it most. And right now with the baby, I really need this, Nicole. She looked around the circle of family faces, expecting agreement, expecting support. And to my horror, she got it. My mother stepped forward, wiping her hands on her apron. It makes sense, Nicole, she said, her voice reasonable, her eyes cold. Brittany is starting a family. You have plenty of time. You can wait another year. What is the rush? You are focused on your school anyway. My father cleared his throat, looking at his shoes. It would be a nice gesture, Nick, for your sister. I felt the ground shift beneath my feet. It was happening again. The erasure. The rewriting of my life to fit the margins of hers. I looked at Grant. His face was a mask of fury. I looked at Cole. He was staring at the ground, looking ashamed. And then I looked at Brittany. She was smiling that sweet, predatory smile, waiting for me to fold. Waiting for me to be the good sister. The one who gave and gave until there was nothing left. But something in me snapped. Maybe it was the memory of Grandma Margaret. Maybe it was the weight of Grant's hand on my back. Or maybe it was just 38 years of silence, finally finding a voice. No, I said. The word hung in the air like a gunshot. Excuse me, Brittany said, her smile faltering. I said no. I repeated, my voice louder this time. No, you cannot have my venue. No, you cannot have my date. And no, you cannot have my money. My mother gasped. Nicole. You are being selfish, Brittany cried, tears instantly springing to her eyes. You do not even care about my baby. I do care about the baby, I said, shaking. But this is not about the baby, Brittany. This is about you wanting what I have because you cannot stand for me to have anything of my own. I turned to Grant. We are leaving. We walked away through the stunned silence of the backyard. I could hear my mother calling my name. I could hear Brittany sobbing. But I did not look back. I walked to the car, got in, and locked the door. My hands were shaking so hard I could barely put on my seatbelt. Grant started the engine and pulled away from the curb. He did not say a word until we were on the highway heading back to Boulder. Then he reached over and took my hand. I am proud of you, he said. I looked at him, and then I looked down at my hand in his. I was proud of me too. But as I watched the mountains pass by, I knew this was not over. Brittany had been denied, and the only thing more dangerous than a golden child who wants something is a golden child who has been told no. My phone buzzed. I looked down. A text from my mother. You have broken your sister's heart. Fix this. Now. I turned off the phone and tossed it into the back seat. The war had begun, and for the first time in my life, I was ready to fight. The drive back to Boulder was a blur of asphalt and silence, the kind of silence that has teeth. I stared out the window at the gray landscape passing by, but I was not seeing the mountains. I was seeing my mother's face, the way it had crumpled not with sadness, but with the shock of being defied. I was seeing Brittany's tears, which had turned on and off like a faucet the moment I said the word no. My phone, which I had tossed into the back seat, kept buzzing against the leather upholstery. It vibrated like an angry hornet trapped in a jar. Grant reached back without taking his eyes off the road and grabbed it. He handed it to me. Turn it off, he said. His voice was calm, but his knuckles were white on the steering wheel. Do not read them. Just turn it off. I took the phone. I knew I should listen to him. I knew that whatever was waiting for me on that screen was designed to hurt. But the conditioning of 38 years is a hard thing to break. I looked. The notifications were stacked like bricks in a wall. From Mom. How could you do this to your sister? She is pregnant, Nicole. Have you no heart? From Dad. We raised you better than this. Apologize to Brittany immediately. From Brittany. I hope you are happy. You ruined my gender reveal too. I was going to do it after you said yes. Selfish. And then a barrage from my aunts and cousins, people who had not spoken to me in months, suddenly having strong opinions on my wedding venue. Family comes first. Nicole. Let it go, Nicole. Be the bigger person, Nicole. I felt a physical blow to my chest, a hollow ache that spread from my ribs to my throat. They were not asking. They were attacking. They had circled the wagons just like I predicted, and I was the enemy at the gate. I pressed the power button and held it until the screen went black. "They hate me," I whispered. Grant merged onto the exit ramp, his turn signal clicking a steady rhythm. "They do not hate you. They are losing control of you. There is a difference." We pulled into our driveway, but neither of us made a move to get out. The engine ticked as it cooled. The apartment windows were dark above us. It should have felt like a sanctuary, but it felt like a bunker. We were under siege. Then my phone lit up again. Not a text this time, a call. I stared at the screen. It was an unknown number. "Do not answer it," Grant said. "It is probably one of your cousins borrowing a phone." I watched the phone vibrate. Something about it felt different, persistent, desperate. I slid my thumb across the screen and put the phone to my ear without saying a word. "Nicole?" The voice was low, rough. It sounded like gravel being crushed under a boot. "Cole?" I asked. Grant's head snapped toward me. "I need to talk to you," Cole said. His voice was shaking. "Not on the phone. Can you meet me? Please." I looked at Grant. He was watching me, his eyebrows raised in a question. I covered the microphone. "It is Cole. He wants to meet." Why, Grant asked. "I do not know," I said. "But he sounds broken." I told Cole to meet us at a coffee shop on Pearl Street. Neutral ground, public, safe. Grant insisted on driving. He parked the car and walked me to the door, but he did not come in. He said he would wait in the car. He said this was something I needed to hear without him acting as a buffer. He trusted me. That trust felt heavier and more valuable than the platinum ring on my finger. Cole was already there, sitting at a small table in the back corner. He was hunched over a black coffee, looking less like the golden child's husband and more like a man who had survived a shipwreck. He was wearing a flannel shirt that had seen better days, and his hands were wrapped around the paper cup as if it were the only thing keeping him upright. I sat down opposite him. He looked up and I saw the dark circles under his eyes, deep purple bruises of exhaustion. "I am sorry," he said. He did not say hello. Just an apology. "For what I asked. For today," Cole said. "For the last 5 years. For letting you think you were the crazy one." I waited. The noise of the espresso machine hissed in the background, a sharp contrast to the quiet devastation at our table. "She planned it," Cole said. He took a sip of coffee, his hand trembling slightly. "She knew you would be there. She knew you would bring the potato salad. She practiced the crying Nicole. She stood in front of the mirror in our bedroom this morning and practiced the exact face she made when you said no." I felt a chill run down my spine. I knew Brittany was manipulative. I knew she was selfish, but hearing it confirmed hearing that it was a rehearsed performance made me feel sick. "Why are you telling me this?" I asked. Cole reached into his pocket and pulled out his phone. He swiped through a few screens and then slid it across the table to me. It was a text thread. A group chat named Team Brittany that included my mother, my Aunt Janet, and several of Brittany's friends. I read the latest messages. "Nicole is going to cave. She always does. If she says no, just bring up the baby. Guilt her about stress. I already told the venue coordinator I might be taking over the September date. She said, just get the bride to sign off." My hand flew to my mouth. She had already called the venue, before she even asked me. "There is more," Cole said. His voice broke. He looked down at his hands. Rough hands. The hands of an electrician. Hands that worked hard for a living. "You know my tools?" he asked. The vintage set my dad left me. The ones I used to restore that old Mustang. I nodded. I knew those tools were his most prized possession. "They are gone," he said. "Gone," I repeated. "Sold," Cole said. 6 months ago. Brittany said we needed money for the baby nursery. She said we were tight. I came home one day and they were just gone. She sold them to a pawn shop for a fraction of what they were worth." I stared at him horrified. "But Cole, you make good money. Where did it go?" "Shopping," he said simply. "Clothes, dinners. Trips with her friends that she said her parents paid for. But they did not. I did, or rather my credit cards did. We are drowning in debt, Nicole, and she just keeps spending." He looked up at me and his eyes were wet. And the baby, he whispered. What about the baby? I asked, a new fear clutching at my throat. She lied about the fertility issues, he said. All those years she told the family we were trying. All those years she made you feel guilty for not giving Mom grandchildren while she struggled. She was on birth control, Nicole. I found the pills. She did not want to ruin her body. She only stopped taking them because I got engaged. I finished for him. Cole nodded. Because she needed the spotlight back. I sat back in my chair, feeling the room spin. It was not just selfishness. It was pathology. It was a calculated, systematic destruction of anyone who threatened her narrative. And my parents were not just bystanders. They were enablers. They were funding this delusion with their silence. Why stay? I asked him. Why are you still there? Cole looked out the window at the passing shoppers. Because I am a coward, he said. And because now there is a real baby. And I do not know how to protect a child from its own mother if I am not there. He reached across the table and took his phone back. I cannot fix this, he said. I cannot stop her. But I can tell you what is coming. She is not done, Nicole. The venue was just the opening move. She is going to try to take it. She is going to try to make you look like the villain to everyone we know. She already has. I said, thinking of the text messages. No, Cole said. He stood up. Not yet. But she will. You need to lock everything down. Passwords, vendors, everything. Do not trust Mom. Do not trust Dad. And whatever you do not let them near your wedding planner. He turned to leave, but then stopped. One more thing, he said. He looked at me with a mixture of pity and respect. You were the only one who ever said no to her. Today in the backyard. It was the bravest thing I have ever seen in that house. Keep saying it. I watched him walk out the door. His shoulders slumped under the weight of his secrets. I felt a strange mix of sorrow and vindication. I was not crazy. I was not selfish. I was just the only one who saw the strings. I walked back to the car. Grant saw my face and started the engine immediately. Grant, I said, my voice steady. Take me to your parents' house. Tom and Mary Callahan lived in a house that smelled like lemon polish and baking bread. It was the complete opposite of my parents' house. There were no walking on eggshells here, no hidden agendas, just warmth. We sat in their living room and I told them everything. I told them about the BBQ. I told them about Cole. I told them about the tools and the pills and the debt. Mary sat next to me on the sofa and held my hand. She did not interrupt. She did not tell me to be the bigger person. She just listened. When I finished, there was a long silence. Then Tom Callahan stood up. He was a big man, a retired union foreman with hands like shovels and a heart to match. He walked over to the fireplace and picked up his phone. Lorraine called me earlier, he said. I froze. She did. Tom nodded. She wanted me to talk sense into you. She said you were being hysterical. She said Brittany needs the venue because of the pregnancy complications. Complications? I asked. What complications? Exactly, Tom said. There are none. She made it up. She tried to use a fake medical crisis to get me to pressure my son to pressure you. I felt the rage burn hot in my chest. They were lying to everyone. What did you say? I asked. Tom smiled a grim, tight smile. I told her that in this family we do not steal from each other. I told her that if she wants a wedding for her daughter, she should pay for it herself instead of trying to hijack yours. And I told her that if she calls my house again, trying to manipulate us, she will be speaking to my lawyer, not me. I looked at this man, this father, who was defending me more fiercely than my own flesh and blood ever had. Tears pricked my eyes. Thank you, I whispered. Mary squeezed my hand. You are our daughter now, Nicole. We protect our own. We drove home later that night, the city lights of Boulder twinkling below us. I felt exhausted, but clear-headed. The fog of guilt was lifting. The narrative my family had spun around me for decades that I was difficult, that I was selfish, that I owed them my happiness, was dissolving under the harsh light of the truth. We got into the apartment, and I did not sit down. I went straight to the kitchen table and opened my laptop. Grant stood behind me, his hand on my shoulder. What are we doing? We are going on the offensive, I said. I pulled up the spreadsheet of our wedding vendors. Every single one. The florist, the caterer, the photographer, and most importantly, the venue coordinator. I picked up my phone and dialed Margaret, our wedding planner. It was late, but she answered on the first ring. Margaret, it is Nicole. Hi, Nicole. Everything okay? She sounded cheerful, unsuspecting. No, I said. It is not. I need to institute a password protocol, immediately. A password? She asked, her tone shifting to professional alertness. Yes, I said. For everything. No changes to the date, the menu, the guest list, or the timeline can be made without a verbal password. And I mean nothing, Margaret. Not even if my mother calls in tears. Not even if my sister says she is my assistant. I understand, Margaret said. What is the password? I looked at Grant. He smiled. Bluebird, I said. It was the name of the trail where Grant proposed. It was ours. Done, Margaret said. I will flag the file right now. Is there a problem, Nicole? My family is the problem, I said. And Margaret, if anyone tries to call anyone at all, I need you to tell me, to tell. Consider it done, she said. I hung up and looked at the list. One more call. I dialed Drew. He answered, sounding sleepier than before. Nick, it is midnight. I know I said. I am sorry. But I need to ask you something. There was a rustling sound as he sat up. What happened? Did you go to the BBQ? I did, I said. And you were right. It was an ambush. I told him briefly what happened. I spared him the details about Cole for now. That was not my secret to tell yet. But I told him about the demand, the guilt trip. Drew let out a long sigh. I am sorry, Nick. I should have been there. You can be there now, I said. There was a pause. You know, Drew said quietly, I gave up on grad school years ago. I never told you why. But watching them do this to you, it is the same playbook, Nick. The exact same one. What do you mean, I asked. Never mind, he said. Not tonight. Tonight is about you. I took a deep breath. Dad is not walking me down the aisle, Drew. I took a deep breath. Dad is not walking me down the aisle, Drew. Silence on the other end. He stood there today and watched them tear me apart. I said, my voice trembling. He stood there and said, I should give it up. He does not get to give me away. He gave me away a long time ago. Nick, I want you to do it, I said. Will you walk me down the aisle? I heard him inhale sharply. A jagged breath. Yes, he said. His voice was thick with emotion. Yes, Nicole. It would be the honor of my life. We hung up and I closed the laptop. I stood up and turned to Grant. He pulled me into a hug and I buried my face in his chest. I felt lighter. I felt stronger. I had drawn the line in the sand and for the first time I had not erased it. I thought about Cole sitting in that coffee shop. I thought about the tools he sold. I thought about Brittany practicing her tears in the mirror. They thought they could break me. They thought they could guilt me into submission like they always had. But they did not know that the Nicole they created, the one who lived to please them, was gone. She died in that backyard when she said no. I went to bed that night feeling a strange sense of peace. The worst had happened. They had turned on me, and I was still standing. The next morning I woke up to the smell of coffee. Grant was already up. I walked into the kitchen and saw him standing by the counter holding his phone. His face was pale. What is it? I asked. He held up the phone. It was an email from Margaret. The subject line read, Urgent Change Request. I took the phone and read the message. Hi, Nicole, just confirming the text I received from you this morning about transferring the venue contract to Brittany's name. I know we set the password last night, but the text came from your personal number, so I just wanted to double-check before I send the paperwork. Attached was a screenshot of a text message. It was from my number. Hey, Margaret. Ignore the drama from last night. I talked to Mom and we worked it out. Please switch the September booking to Brittany Keegan. She will call you with payment details. Thanks. I stared at the screen. I had never sent that text. My phone had been on the nightstand all night. Grant took the phone back. Someone spoofed your number, he said, his voice deadly quiet. I felt the blood drain from my face. They were not just asking anymore. They were stealing. And they were using my own identity to do it. "Game on," I whispered. Grant handed the phone back to me and his hand was trembling slightly. It was not fear. It was the specific contained vibration of a man who was trying very hard not to punch a wall. "Someone spoofed your number," he said, his voice deadly quiet. "It is an app, Nicole. You can download them for free. You type in the number you want to display and the number you want to send it to. It takes 10 seconds. I stared at the screenshot on the screen. The text bubble was green. The words were cheerful. "Hey, Margaret." Ignore the drama. It sounded like me. It used my syntax. It used the exclamation points I used when I was trying to be polite to vendors. That was the most violating part. Brittany did not just steal my number. She stole my voice. "She is trying to cancel our contract," I said, my voice sounding hollow in the quiet kitchen. "She is trying to trick Margaret into releasing the date. This is fraud, Grant. This is actual criminal fraud." Grant pulled out his own phone. "I am documenting this. Screenshot everything. Forward the email to me. We are building a file." I called Margaret back immediately. My heart was hammering against my ribs, a frantic bird trapped in a cage. She picked up on the first ring. "Margaret, it is me. The real me." "I know," she said, and her voice was tight with professional anger. "I figured it out the second I asked for the password and got silence. Plus, the timestamp on that text was 3 in the morning. Who sends a venue change text at 3 in the morning? Someone who is manic," I said, rubbing my temples. "Someone who does not think about consequences." "I have already flagged your file." "Read," Margaret said. "I put a note on the account that says voice verification only. Even if someone calls with the password, I am not making changes unless I recognize your voice or Grant's voice. We are on lockdown, Nicole." "Thank you, Margaret," I whispered. "I am so sorry you are being dragged into this." "Honey," she said, softening. "I have been a wedding planner in Colorado Springs for 20 years. I have seen mothers-in-law wear white. I have seen grooms pass out drunk at the altar. But identity theft by a sister, that is a new one. You stay safe." I hung up and looked at Grant. He was sitting at the kitchen table, his laptop open, the blue light illuminating the hard lines of his face. He was in project manager mode. Problem. Analysis. Solution. "We need to know how she did this," he said. "Not the app. I know the app. I mean the technical confidence. Brittany barely knows how to use Excel. Who is helping her?" I thought about Cole. I thought about the conversation in the coffee shop, the way his eyes had looked when he talked about the secrets. I picked up my phone and typed a message to Cole. She sent a fake text to the planner, pretended to be me. Who is helping her with tech? The 3 dots appeared almost instantly. Jason, Cole replied. Her ex-boyfriend from college, the one who works in IT support. She calls him whenever her laptop freezes. I saw him at the house yesterday. I showed the phone to Grant. "Jason," he said, shaking his head. "Her ex. The tech guy. That is the one I said. He never got over her. Cole says she calls him whenever she needs something done that she cannot do herself." My phone buzzed again. Another message from Cole. "She tried to call the venue directly first," Cole wrote. "She called yesterday afternoon pretending to be your personal assistant. She told them you were too stressed to talk and wanted to transfer the contract. The coordinator shut her down because she did not have the account number." I read the message twice. The premeditation made my stomach turn. This was not a spur-of-the-moment emotional outburst at a barbecue. This was a campaign. "I need to talk to Drew," I said. I dialed my brother again. He answered immediately as if he had been waiting by the phone. "She spoofed my number, Drew," I said. "She tried to cancel the wedding." There was a long silence on the other end, then a heavy sigh that sounded like it came from the bottom of a well. "Do you remember the graduation?" Nick Drew asked quietly. I frowned. Of course I remember. The steakhouse? The toast. "No," Drew said. "Not the dinner. The defense. The presentation itself." I paused. My memory of that day was a blur of adrenaline and anxiety. I remembered standing in the lecture hall. I remembered the committee. I remembered the relief when it was over. "What about it?" I asked. "You never knew because I stopped her at the door," Drew said. I sat down in the chair opposite Grant. "What do you mean you stopped her?" She showed up, Nick. At the university. 20 minutes into your presentation, she was wearing a white dress and she had a bouquet of balloons. She told the receptionist she was there to support her sister. She tried to walk into the active defense room. I felt the blood drain from my face. My dissertation proposal defense, the most critical hour of my academic career, a closed-door event. Drew continued, his voice steady but cold. I was waiting in the hall just in case. I saw her coming. I physically blocked the door. She started screaming, Nick. She started screaming that I was hurting her, that I was jealous. Security had to come. They escorted her off campus. I covered my mouth with my hand. Why did no one tell me? Because Mom made us promise not to, Drew said. She said you were under enough pressure. She said Brittany just wanted to celebrate you and got carried away. She spun it so Brittany was the victim of overzealous security. But I saw her face, Nick. She knew exactly what she was doing. She wanted to burst those balloons in the middle of your speech. She wanted to turn your triumph into a circus. I closed my eyes. The pattern was so clear now. It was not just about attention. It was about sabotage. Anytime I had something that was solely mine, a degree, a fiancé, a venue, she viewed it as a personal insult. And Mom covered it up, I whispered. Mom always covers it up, Drew said. That is why I left. And that is why I am coming back. Because I am not letting her do it to your wedding. I hung up the phone and looked at Grant. He was watching me, waiting. She tried to ruin my defense, I told him. Physically. Drew stopped her. Grant reached across the table and took my hand. His grip was tight, grounding. She is escalating, he said. The text failed. The call failed. She is running out of covert options. Which means she is going to go overt, I said, realizing the truth as I spoke it. She is going to stop hiding in the shadows. My phone chimed, a different sound this time, the trill of an Instagram notification. Then another, then 3 more in rapid succession. I looked down at the screen. A knot of dread tightened in my throat. Brittany Keegan tagged you in a post. I opened the app. The photo took up the entire screen. It was high-resolution, bright, filtered to perfection. It was Brittany. She was wearing a white lace dress. Not a wedding dress exactly, but close enough that no one would mistake the intention. She was standing under the oak tree. My oak tree. The one where I had stood with Grant just days ago. The one I had secured with Grandma Margaret's money. She was holding her hands over her small bump, looking down with a serene, beatific smile. The sun was setting behind her, bathing the historic garden in golden light. But it was the caption that made the air leave my lungs. So blessed to announce that our little family has found the perfect spot for our special day. September cannot come soon enough. Thank you to my amazing big sister at Nicole Hartman for making this happen. Family first, always #wedding venue, #baby on board, #sisters, #love. I stared at the image. The location tag was clearly marked, the Centennial Gardens. She was there, I whispered. She was physically there. Today. I scrolled down to the comments. OMG, congrats, Brit. You look stunning. So sweet of Nicole to share. Wait, I thought this was Nicole's venue. Grant leaned over my shoulder. He read the caption and let out a sharp curse. How did she get in? He demanded. The gardens are gated. I called the venue again. I did not care that I was being a nuisance. Margaret picked up her voice, wary. Nicole. She is there, Margaret, I said, my voice rising. She posted a photo. She is inside the venue. I know, Margaret said, and she sounded exhausted. I just got off the phone with the groundskeeper. She showed up an hour ago. She told the gate attendant she was your sister and she was there to take measurements for the floral arch. She said she was your assistant, and they let her in. She had a clipboard, Nicole, Margaret said. She knew the gate code. She knew the name of the florist. She dropped your name and said you were stuck in traffic. The kid at the gate is 19 years old. He did not know any better. I felt a wave of nausea. She had used the information I had shared with my mother. Every detail I had excitedly told them over Sunday dinners. The florist, the code, the plans. I had handed her the ammunition. She took photos, I said, staring at the screen where the likes were climbing by the second. She claimed the venue publicly. Margaret sighed. I am banning her, Nicole. I am putting her photo at the gate. If she shows up again, we are calling the police for trespassing. But the internet? I cannot control the internet. I hung up and looked at Grant. She won, I said. Even if we keep the contract, she won the narrative. Everyone thinks I gave it to her. If I take it back now, I look like the monster who stole a venue from her pregnant sister. Grant stood up. He walked over to me and took the phone from my hands. He placed it face down on the table. She did not win, he said firmly. She just fired a flare gun. She wants you to react. She wants you to fight her in the comments so she can play the victim. So what do we do? I asked, feeling the tears prick my eyes. Tears of frustration, tears of rage. Grant looked at the phone, then back at me. His eyes were cold, calculating. The eyes of a man who managed multi-million-dollar construction projects and knew how to deal with structural instability. We let her build the castle, he said. We let her stack every single brick of lies. And then when she is standing on top of it, waving her flag, we pull the foundation. How I asked. Grant pointed to the laptop where the spreadsheet of vendors was still open. Because we have the one thing she does not have, he said. We have the receipts, and we have Cole. He picked up his keys. Get your coat, Nicole. We are going to print some documents, and then we are going to have a very interesting conversation with your mother. Because there is no way Brittany pulled off that gate code knowing the florist, knowing the schedule without an inside man. I looked at the closed phone. I looked at the dark window where the reflection of my own face stared back at me, pale, shocked, but underneath it all, angry. I grabbed my coat. No more hiding, I said. The engine of Grant's truck hummed a low, steady rhythm as we drove toward the 24-hour print shop on the edge of town. My phone lay face down on the center console, but it continued to vibrate against the hard plastic. Every buzz felt like a physical poke in the ribs. 500 likes. 600. The numbers in my head were ticking up even if I was not looking at them. It was not just the strangers on the internet that made my chest tight. It was the texts from people who actually knew me. My bridesmaid Sarah, my lab partner from the university, even my cousin living in Ohio. Did you change your date? I thought September was your month. Wow, you are such a good sister to give that up. Brittany had not just stolen a venue. She had stolen the truth. In the span of an hour, she had rewritten reality so effectively that if I tried to correct it now, I would look like the bitter, jealous sibling trying to ruin a pregnant woman's joy. It was masterful. It was terrifying. Grant reached over and covered my hand with his. His palm was warm and rough, calloused from years of handling rebar and concrete. Stop thinking about the comments, he said, his eyes fixed on the dark road ahead. It is noise, Nicole. It is just noise. We focus on the signal. What is the signal? I asked, my voice sounding small in the cab of the truck. The signal is the fraud, Grant said. The signal is that she committed a crime to get that photo. She trespassed. She impersonated you. And she spoofed your number. That is not family drama. That is a felony. We pulled into the parking lot of the print shop. The fluorescent lights inside hummed with a sickly yellow glow. We were the only ones there at 11 o'clock on a Tuesday night. We spent the next hour printing everything. The screenshot of the fake text message sent to Margaret. The email log from the venue showing the unauthorized inquiry. The call logs from my phone proving I had been asleep when the text was sent. And finally, the Instagram post itself printed in high-resolution color showing Brittany standing in my garden claiming my future. As the pages slid out of the printer warm and crisp, I felt a strange sense of detachment. This looked like a legal file. It looked like evidence for a trial. I looked at the photo of my sister, her hands cradling her stomach, her smile beatific and innocent. Who helps her do this? I whispered. She cannot even set up her own voicemail, Grant. Who taught her how to spoof a number? Grant was stapling the documents into neat piles. He paused. You asked Cole, I said, remembering. You asked him about the tech support. Grant nodded. He checked his phone. Cole says it is Jason. Jason, I repeated. The name brought back a vague memory of cheap cologne and an acoustic guitar. Her ex-boyfriend from college, the one who works in IT. He is still around, Grant said. Apparently he never really got over her. Cole says she calls him whenever she needs something fixed. or in this case, something broken. I felt a wave of nausea. She had an accomplice. She had a team. My phone buzzed again. It was not a notification this time. It was a call from Drew. I answered immediately, putting it on speaker so Grant could hear. Nick Drew's voice sounded tinny and exhausted. I saw the post. I closed my eyes, leaning back against the counter of the copy shop. It is bad, Drew. It is worse than bad, he said. It is the graduation all over again. I opened my eyes. You mentioned that before. On the phone. You said she tried to get into the defense room. Grant stopped stapling. He looked at me, waiting. Drew took a breath. I never told you the whole story, Nick. I thought it would hurt you too much. But you need to know what you are dealing with. Tell me, I said. That day, Drew said, his voice dropping lower. When she showed up at the university with the balloons, she was not alone. She had a photographer with her. A photographer, I asked. A guy with a professional camera, Drew said. She told the receptionist she wanted to capture the moment you came out. But Nick, she tried to open the door while you were presenting. She had her hand on the handle. She told the photographer to get ready to catch your surprise. I felt the blood drain from my face. My dissertation proposal defense was a formal closed-door academic proceeding. If she had burst in with balloons and a camera flash, I would have failed, I whispered. The committee would have failed me for unprofessional conduct. They would have thought I set it up. Exactly, Drew said. And she knew that. Or maybe she did not care. But when I blocked her, when I stood in front of that door, she did not just scream. She whispered something to me. What did she say? I asked, my hand gripping the edge of the counter until my knuckles turned white. She looked me right in the eye, Drew said. And she said, if I cannot be the smart one, nobody gets to be the smart one. The silence in the print shop was heavy, suffocating. The hum of the copier fan sounded like a roar. She admitted it, I said. She actually admitted it. For a second, Drew said. Then the security guards came and she switched instantly. Tears, panic, the victim. She told Mom I pushed her. She told Dad I was being aggressive. By the time we got to dinner, she had spun the story so tight that I was the villain and she was the poor sister who just wanted to celebrate you. And they believed her, I said. They always believe her, Drew said. Because believing her is easier than facing the truth. Facing the truth means admitting they raised a monster. I looked at the stack of papers on the counter. The evidence of her latest campaign. It was the same pattern. The text message sent at 3 a.m. The lie to the gate guard about being my assistant. The Instagram post designed to force my hand. It was not love. It was not excitement about a wedding. It was a calculated strike at the thing I valued most. She is trying to fail me again, I said, just like the PhD. She wants to burst into the middle of my life and pop the balloons. Grant put his hand on my shoulder. Not this time, he said. Drew spoke again, his voice firm. I booked my flight, Nick. I am coming early. I am not waiting for the wedding. I will be there on Thursday. Thank you, Drew, I said, feeling a lump form in my throat. Be careful, he said. When she realizes the Instagram post did not make you cave, she is going to escalate. She always does. I hung up the phone. The paper stack felt heavy in my hands, a physical weight of betrayal. We walked back to the truck. The air outside was freezing, a sharp Colorado-biting cold that stung my cheeks. Where to? Grant asked, starting the engine. I looked at the dashboard clock. It was nearly midnight. Home, I said. We need to sleep. Tomorrow we go to the bank. I want to make sure the deposit is still safe. Then we go to the venue. I want to see the security footage of her entering the gate. And then Grant asked, backing out of the space. And then I said, staring at the dark road ahead, we go to my parents' house. We are not going to text. We are not going to call. We are going to walk in that front door and put these papers on the kitchen table and ask them exactly how Brittany knew the gate code. Because she did not get it from Jason. I said, the realization settling in my stomach like a stone. Jason is tech support. He can spoof a number, but he does not know the specific 4-digit code Margaret assigned to my file. Grant glanced at me. You think? I told Mom the code, I whispered. Last Sunday. At dinner. I was so excited. I told her Margaret let me pick a custom code so I could remember it easily. I picked the year Grandma Margaret was born. 1942, Grant said. 1942, I repeated, Only 3 people knew that code: me, Margaret, and my mother. Grant's jaw tightened. So it was not just Brittany, he said. No, I said, feeling the tears finally spill over hot and fast down my cold cheeks. Brittany pulled the trigger, but Mom unlocked the door. We drove home in silence, but it was not the fearful silence of the drive down. It was the silence of soldiers preparing for battle. The fog was gone. The confusion was gone. I knew who the enemy was now, and the enemy had a key to my house. I pulled out my phone one last time. I opened the contacts list. I scrolled down to Mom. My finger hovered over the block button. Not yet, I thought. Not until I look her in the eye. I put the phone away and watched the city lights of Boulder rise up to meet us. I was tired. I was heartbroken. But for the first time in my life, I was not confused. I knew exactly what I had to do. I had to stop trying to be the daughter they wanted and start being the woman who survived them. The morning sun cut through the blinds of our bedroom with a brightness that felt offensive. I woke up with a headache that sat behind my eyes like a bruised fruit. The events of last night, the print shop, the realization about my mother, the Instagram post felt like a fever dream, but the stack of papers on the kitchen table was very real. I made coffee, black, strong enough to strip paint. Grant was already dressed in his work clothes, his steel-toed boots laced tight. He was leaning over the kitchen island reading the printout of Brittany's Instagram post again. 540 likes, I said, pouring 2 mugs, and 40 comments congratulating her on the venue. Grant took the coffee without looking up. She is good, he said. I will give her that. She plays the crowd better than a politician. My phone buzzed on the counter. I flinched. It was a Pavlovian response at this point. Every vibration meant another attack. I looked at the screen. It was not a text. It was a notification from Venmo. Brittany Keegan paid you $100 for venue deposit refund. I stared at it. $100 for a $15,000 deposit. She is trying to create a paper trail, I said, my voice flat. She sends me money labeled refund, so she can claim later that I accepted it, that we had a deal. Grant looked at the screen and let out a short, incredulous laugh. $100. She thinks you are that cheap. I declined the payment immediately and typed a note in the rejection field. No agreement exists. Stop. Then the phone rang. It was my mother. I looked at Grant. He nodded. I picked up the phone and put it on speaker. Hello, Mom. Nicole Honey, her voice was warm, syrupy sweet. It was the voice she used when she wanted to pretend everything was normal after a catastrophe. I saw Brittany's post. Isn't it wonderful? I leaned against the counter, gripping the edge of the granite until my fingers hurt. What is wonderful about it, Mom? That you two worked it out, she said breezily. Brittany told me you guys texted last night and came to an agreement. She is so relieved, Nicole. And honestly, I'm so proud of you. Being the big sister, making sacrifices for family, that is the Nicole I raised. I felt a cold calm settle over me. It was the calm of someone who realizes the house is not just burning, it has already burned down. She lied to you, Mom, I said quietly. We did not work it out. I did not agree to anything. There was a pause on the other end, a beat of silence that felt heavy. Oh, come on, Nicole. My mother's voice sharpened, losing the sweetness. Do not be like this. She already announced it. People are congratulating her. You are not going to make her look like a liar publicly, are you? She is pregnant, for heaven's sake. She is a liar, Mom, I said. And so are you. Excuse me, Lorraine. Hartman's voice went icy. I know you gave her the gate code, I said. I know you told her about the florist. And I know you knew about the spoofed text message. My mother made a sputtering sound. I do not know what you are talking about. 1942, I said. Grandma's birth year. The code I told only you. How did Brittany get into the venue, Mom? Did she guess it? Or did you hand her the key to the only thing I have left of Grandma Margaret? Silence. Long, stretching silence. Then my mother sighed. A heavy, dramatic exhale. She needed to get in for measurements, Nicole. She was stressed. I just wanted to help. I thought if she saw the place, if she felt how special it was, maybe you would change your mind. So you helped her break in, I asked. You helped her trespass. It is not trespassing if it is family, she snapped. You are so rigid, Nicole. Everything is black and white with you, just like your father. It is just a garden. Why can you not just share? Because it is mine, I said. Because for once in my life I wanted something that was just mine. Well, it is too late now, she said, her voice taking on a triumphant edge. She posted it. The world knows. If you fight her on this, you will look like a jealous, bitter spinster trying to ruin her baby sister's wedding. Is that what you want? Do you want everyone to know how petty you are? I looked at Grant. He was shaking his head, his eyes full of sorrow for me. I am not the one who looks petty, Mom, I said. I am the one with the receipts. Receipts, she scoffed. What receipts? I hung up. I did not want to warn her. I did not want to give her time to prepare a defense. Grant walked over and wrapped his arms around me. You okay? No, I said, burying my face in his chest. I feel like I just orphaned myself. You did not orphan yourself, Grant said. You just stopped letting them hold you hostage. We spent the afternoon in a state of suspended animation. I went to the university and tried to grade papers, but the words blurred on the page. I kept checking my phone, waiting for the next blow. It came at 4 o'clock. My phone rang again. It was Cole. I answered immediately. Cole, are you okay? He sounded breathless, like he had been running. Did you see the group chat? He asked. No, I said. I muted it. Check it, he said. Now. And then call me back. I hung up and opened the messaging app. The family group chat, which usually consisted of birthday wishes and holiday plans, was exploding. There was a new photo. It was a screenshot. It looked like a text conversation between me and Brittany. Me. Fine. You can have the venue. I am tired of fighting. Just pay me back the deposit. Brittany. OMG. Thank you, Nicole. You are the best sister ever. I promise I will make it up to you. Me. Just take it. I do not even want it anymore. Grant and I are fighting anyway. I stared at the screen. My mouth fell open. I never wrote that. I never wrote any of that. Below the screenshot, Brittany had added a message to the family. See, she agreed. And now she is trying to back out and make me look bad just because she is fighting with Grant. I cannot believe she would do this to me when I am pregnant. Then the comments from the family started rolling in. Aunt Janet, Nicole, surely this is a misunderstanding, Cousin Mike. Not cool to go back on your word, Nick. Dad, Nicole, call your mother. Stop this nonsense. I felt like the room was spinning. She had fabricated an entire conversation. She had forged my consent. I called Cole back. My hands were shaking so hard I almost dropped the phone. She made it up. I said, my voice rising to a pitch I barely recognized. She made the whole thing up, Cole. I know, he said. I was there. You were there, I asked. I was standing in the doorway, Cole said. I watched her do it. She used an app called Text Story. It lets you create fake conversations on one phone. You type both sides. She sat there on the sofa giggling while she typed your replies. She said, I am going to make her sound so bitchy. I felt a wave of nausea. Giggling. She was giggling while she destroyed my reputation. Did you say anything? I asked. Cole was silent for a moment. No, he whispered. I did not. Because I was recording it. I stopped breathing. You what? I recorded her, Cole said. I have a video of her sitting on the sofa typing the fake texts. You can see the screen. You can hear her laughing. You can hear her say Mom is going to believe this instantly. I leaned against the wall, sliding down until I was sitting on the kitchen floor. You have proof. I have proof, Cole said. And I am done sitting on it. What are you going to do? I asked. I am coming over, he said. I am bringing the video. And then I am going to your parents' house. Cole. Do not, I said, fear spiking in my chest. If you do that, if you show them that video, it is over. Your marriage is over. It was over the minute she decided to destroy her sister for an Instagram post, Cole said. I am leaving her, Nicole. I packed a bag this morning while she was sleeping. I am done being an accomplice. I hung up the phone and looked at Grant, who was watching me from the doorway. She faked a conversation I told him. She made it look like I gave her the venue because we were fighting. Grant's eyes went dark. And Cole recorded her doing it, I said. He is coming over. He is leaving her. We sat in the living room waiting. The clock ticked on the wall. Every minute felt like an hour. When the knock came, it was soft, hesitant. Grant opened the door. Cole stood there holding a duffel bag in one hand and his phone in the other. He looked like a man who had walked through a fire. His face was pale, his eyes red-rimmed. He walked in and set the bag down. He did not say hello. He just held out the phone. "Press play," he said. I took the phone. On the screen was a video taken from a doorway. I saw the back of Brittany's head. She was sitting on the beige sectional in my parents' living room. Her thumbs were flying across her phone screen. "Okay, so then she says just take it," Brittany mumbled to herself, her voice clear on the recording. And then I say, "Oh my God, thank you." She laughed, a high tinkling sound that used to make me smile, but now sounded like breaking glass. "Mom is going to flip," she said to the empty room. "She is going to be so mad at Nicole for backing out." I watched the video end. I handed the phone back to Cole. "Thank you," I whispered. "You do not have to thank me," Cole said, his voice breaking. "I should have done this 5 years ago. I should have stopped her when she lied about the fertility. I should have stopped her when she stole from you at Christmas. I wanted to believe she would change." "She is not going to change," Grant said gently. "Not as long as everyone protects her." Cole nodded. "I know. That is why I am going to the house. Mom and Dad need to see this." "They will not believe you," I said. "Even with the video. They will say you edited it. They will say you are trying to hurt her." "I do not care if they believe me," Cole said. "I care that I said it. I care that I stopped lying for her." He picked up his bag. Can I leave this here for a few hours? I do not want to bring my stuff. It will just make a scene." "Of course," I said. "You can stay here, Cole. The guest room is yours." He shook his head. "Number 1, I need to go to a hotel. I need to be somewhere where she cannot find me. But thank you." He walked to the door. He paused, his hand on the knob. "She is going to explode, Nicole," he said. "When I show them this, when I tell her I am leaving, she is going to burn everything down. Let her burn it," Grant said. "We are fireproof." Cole left. I locked the door behind him. I went back to the kitchen and looked at the stack of evidence. The printouts, the logs, and now the video. We had everything we needed to prove she was a fraud. But proving it to the world was one thing. Proving it to my parents was another. My phone buzzed again. It was a text from my Aunt Janet. "Nicole, I just saw the screenshots. Please tell me this is not true. Please tell me you did not give up your dream because of a fight with Grant." I typed a reply, my fingers flying across the screen. "It is a lie, Janet." She faked the texts. "Cole has proof. He is on his way to show Mom and Dad right now." I hit send. 10 minutes later, my phone rang. It was Janet. I answered. "I believe you," she said. Her voice was strong, unwavering. "I have watched that girl manipulate this family since she was in diapers. I never said anything because Raymond is my brother and I did not want to cause trouble. But faking a conversation, trying to break up your engagement, that is evil, Nicole." "Thank you, Janet," I said, tears streaming down my face. "You have no idea what that means to me." "I am coming to the wedding," she said, "and I am going to stand up for you. If Lorraine tries to pull anything, well, she will have to go through me." I hung up feeling a tiny spark of hope. One ally. I had one ally in the family, but the real battle was happening across town right now. Cole was walking into the lion's den. He was about to shatter the illusion that held my family together. I looked at the clock. 7 p.m. By 8 p.m., my life as I knew it would be over. My parents would either wake up or they would choose the lie forever. I sat on the couch with Grant holding his hand, waiting for the explosion. And then it came. Not a phone call, not a text, a notification from Facebook. Brittany Keegan updated her status, heartbroken, betrayed by my own husband and sister. Please pray for me and my baby. It had begun. The Facebook status was just the first wave of the tsunami. Within minutes, my phone was vibrating so constantly it felt alive. Brittany had not just posted a status, she had launched a campaign. My own sister seduced my husband to get back at me for the venue. Grant and Nicole have been plotting this for months. He is leaving his pregnant wife because she poisoned his mind. I sat on the couch watching the notifications roll in like a ticker tape of my own destruction. Comments from cousins I had babysat. Likes from neighbors I had shoveled snow for. They were all rallying around the pregnant victim, the golden girl who had been wronged. I felt Grant's hand on my shoulder, heavy and grounding. "Do not read them," he said. "I cannot help it," I whispered. "They think I am a monster, Grant. They think I slept with Cole. Let them think it." Grant said, his voice hard. "They are not thinking Nicole. They are reacting. They are consuming a soap opera because it is easier than asking why a man would leave his pregnant wife after 5 years. My phone rang. It was my father. I stared at the screen. Dad. A word that used to mean safety. Now it just meant judgment. "Answer it," Grant said. "Put it on speaker." I slid the button and set the phone on the coffee table. "Nicole." His voice was not angry. It was worse. It was disappointed. It was the voice he used when I got a B on a report card. The voice that said I expected better. "Dad," I said. "Your mother is in the hospital," he said. My heart stopped. "What?" "She collapsed," he said, "after Cole left. After he showed us those videos. She could not breathe. We are in the ER." I felt a wave of panic rising in my throat. "Is she okay?" "It was a panic attack," Dad said. His tone implied that I was the one who had squeezed the air out of her lungs. "She is sedated now. But Nicole, how could you? How could I asked, my voice trembling. "Dad, Cole showed you the proof. You saw her faking the texts. You heard her laughing." "I saw a man who is trying to justify abandoning his family," Dad said. "I saw a man who has been manipulated. And I saw my daughter, my oldest daughter, destroying her sister's life over a wedding venue." I could not breathe. He had seen the evidence. He had seen the literal video of Brittany's deception. And he had chosen to believe it was a trick. "Dad," I said, tears streaming down my face. "She faked the texts. She tried to steal my identity. That is a crime. It is a cry for help." Dad snapped. "She is stressed, Nicole. She is pregnant. And instead of supporting her, you pushed her. You pushed her until she snapped. And now you have taken her husband too." "I did not take her husband," I screamed. "Cole left because she lied to him for 5 years. Because she sold his tools. Because she lied about the pills." "That is enough," Dad shouted. His voice cracked. "I do not want to hear any more lies. We have made a decision, Nicole." "We," I whispered. "Your mother and I," he said. "We have decided that until you apologize, until you make this right and give Brittany the venue she needs, you are not part of this family." The words hung in the air, heavy, final. "You are disowning me," I asked, my voice barely a whisper. "We are giving you a choice," Dad said. "You can be a Hartman and do what is right for your sister, or you can be, whatever this is, a selfish, bitter woman who destroys her own kin." I looked at Grant. He was shaking his head, his eyes wet with tears for me. "I choose the truth." "Dad," I said. "Then do not come to the hospital," he said, "and do not come home." The line went dead. I sat there staring at the black screen. The silence in the apartment was deafening. I felt like I had been hollowed out, scraped clean of everything that made me who I was. I was a daughter without parents, a sister without a sibling. Grant pulled me into his arms. I buried my face in his neck and sobbed. I cried for the little girl who tried so hard to be good. I cried for the teenager who tutored Brittany so she would not fail math. I cried for the woman who had waited 3 years for a wedding that had become a funeral for her family. We sat there for a long time. The sun went down, casting long shadows across the floor. Then there was a knock at the door. I froze. Was it Cole coming back? Was it my father coming to yell at me in person? Grant got up and looked through the peephole. He opened the door immediately. Drew stood there. He was wearing a wrinkled coat and carrying a backpack. He looked like he had not slept in days. His hair was messy, his eyes wild. He dropped the bag and walked straight to me. He pulled me up from the couch and hugged me so hard my ribs creaked. "I am here, Nick," he whispered into my hair. "I am here." I clung to him, the smell of airport coffee and rain clinging to his jacket. "You came," I said. I saw the post Drew said, pulling back to look at me. I was at the gate in Seattle when she posted the thing about Cole. I got on the plane and I paid for Wi-Fi just to watch the comments. "They disowned me, Drew," I said, fresh tears spilling over. "Dad called. He said I am not part of the family unless I give her the venue." Drew's face darkened. He looked like Dad for a second, but without the weakness, without the blindfold. "He did not disown you," Nick Drew said. "He set you free." What I asked, wiping my eyes. "They are a cult," Drew said. His voice was steady, angry. "Mom is the leader and Brittany is the deity and Dad is the enforcer. You and I, we were just the tithe. We were the currency they spent to keep the fantasy alive." He walked over to the kitchen island and poured himself a glass of water. His hand was shaking. "Do you know why I really left?" he asked. "Why I moved to Seattle and only come back for Christmas? Because of the job," I said. "No," Drew said. "I left because of the money. The money I asked. The college fund," Drew said. "Grandma Margaret left money for all of us, right? You got yours early for the venue. But mine was supposed to be for grad school." I nodded. I remembered him talking about a master's program years ago. "I went to the bank the day I got accepted," Drew said. "The account was empty." "Empty," I repeated. "Mom withdrew it," Drew said. 2 years before, she gave it to Brittany. For a car. That red convertible she drives. She told me the market crashed. She told me the investments failed. But I saw the withdrawal slip, Nick. It had her signature. I stared at him. "They stole your college fund." And when I confronted them, Drew said they told me I was being selfish. They said Brittany needed a safe car for her commute. They said I was smart enough to get a scholarship. They gaslit me, Nick. Just like they are doing to you. I felt a cold fury rising in my chest, replacing the sadness. It was a clean, burning fuel. "They have been doing this forever," I whispered. "Forever," Drew agreed. "And today it stops. Because you are not going to apologize. You are not going to give her the venue. And you are definitely not going to let them win." My phone buzzed again. A text from Janet. "I heard about Lorraine. I am at the hospital. She is fine, Nicole. She is faking it. The doctor said her vitals are perfect. She is just holding her breath until she gets her way." I showed the text to Drew and Grant. "Classic," Drew said. "The hospital card. The ultimate trump card." Grant stood up. He looked at us both. His face was set like stone. "We are going to finish this," he said. "We are going to have this wedding. And we are going to make sure that when you walk down that aisle, Nicole, you are walking toward a future that has nothing to do with them." "But the security," I said. "Brittany knows the venue. She knows the code." "Not anymore," Grant said. "I called Margaret an hour ago. We changed the code. We hired private security. 2 off-duty cops. If Brittany shows up, if Dad shows up, they will be escorted out." "My father," I asked. "You would kick out my father if he is there to hurt you," Grant said. "Yes," without hesitation. I looked at the 3 men in my life. Grant my partner, Drew my brother, and somewhere out there Cole my witness. They were the ones standing by me. They were the family I had chosen. My phone buzzed one last time. It was a text from Brittany. "Mom is dying because of you. I hope you are happy. You will never be happy, Nicole. You do not deserve it." I looked at the words, the venom, the projection. I did not reply. I pressed my finger on her name. I scrolled down to the bottom of the contact card. And I pressed block caller. Then I did the same for Mom. And Dad. The silence that followed was not empty. It was full. It was the sound of a cord being cut. It was the sound of a heavy weight finally being put down. "I am ready," I said to Drew and Grant, ready for what Drew asked. To get married, I said. To be happy. To deserve it. We ordered pizza. We sat on the floor of the living room and ate straight from the box. We laughed about things that were not funny because if we did not laugh, we would scream. But as the night wore on, a new feeling settled over me. It was fear. Not the fear of their judgment, but the fear of their escalation. Brittany was backed into a corner. Her husband was gone. Her narrative was cracking. Her mother was playing dead in a hospital bed. She had nothing left to lose. And a golden child with nothing to lose is a dangerous thing. I went to bed, but I did not sleep. I lay awake listening to Grant breathe beside me. I thought about the oak tree at the venue. I thought about Grandma Margaret. And then just as I was drifting off, my phone lit up on the nightstand. It was not a text. It was an email notification. Venue change confirmation. I sat up, my heart hammering. I grabbed the phone. The email was from the venue. But it was not about the date. Dear Nicole, per your request, we have canceled the security detail for Saturday. We understand that family matters have been resolved. I stared at the screen. I had not canceled the security. Grant had just hired them. She hacked my email, I whispered. The security firm had emailed the confirmation. All she had to do was reply from my account. Grant woke up instantly. What? She hacked my email, I said. Not the vendors, not Margaret. The security company did not have our password protocol. They just had my email address. Grant woke up instantly. What? She hacked my email, I said. She canceled the security. She is clearing the path, Grant. She is coming. And she is not coming to celebrate. She is coming to burn it down. The glow of the phone screen illuminated the terror on my face as I read the email again. Security detail canceled. She had been inside my email. She had found the confirmation from the private security firm Grant hired, and she had impersonated me one more time to clear her path. Grant was already out of bed, pulling on his jeans. He did not say a word. He just grabbed his laptop and started typing furiously. Change the password, he said, his voice thick with sleep but sharp with adrenaline. Two-factor authentication, Nicole. Turn it on for everything. The bank, the venue, the florist. Everything. I sat there, my hands shaking so hard I could barely hold the phone. It felt like a violation deeper than the identity theft. It was not just about the wedding anymore. She was inside my life. She was reading my private correspondence. She knew everything. She knows about the security, I whispered. That means she knows we are expecting trouble. That means she is planning something big, Grant. Grant stopped typing. He looked at me, his face illuminated by the blue light of the screen. She is desperate, he said. A desperate person makes mistakes. We spent the next 3 hours scrubbing my digital life. We changed every password. We called the bank and put a verbal freeze on all transactions. We called the security firm and reinstated the guards, this time with a specific instruction that only Grant could make changes. By the time the sun came up over the Flatirons, I felt like I had been through a war. My eyes were gritty, my head pounded, but my mind was clear. The wedding was in 2 days. I am not canceling, I said, staring out the window at the gray dawn. Grant came up behind me, wrapping his arms around my waist. I did not think you would. She wants me to cancel, I said. She wants to ruin it so badly that she is willing to commit felonies. If I cancel, if I let her scare me out of my own life, then she wins. And she keeps winning forever. We need to make a plan, Grant said. A physical plan. Not just passwords. I nodded. I called Drew. He came over within 20 minutes, bringing coffee and a grim determination that mirrored my own. We sat at the kitchen table and drew a map of the venue. Here is the gate, Drew said, pointing to the entrance. The security will be here. They have a photo of Brittany, and Mom, and Dad. And Jason, I added. The tech guy. If he is helping her hack, he might be helping her physically too. Drew nodded. Jason too. What about inside, I asked. The ceremony is in the garden. It is open air. If she climbs the back fence. The back fence is 8 feet high, Grant said. And she is 4 months pregnant. She is not climbing anything. Unless she has help, I said. My phone rang. It was Cole. I put it on speaker. Cole, where are you? I am at a Motel 6 off the highway, he said. His voice sounded wrecked, like he had been smoking a pack a day. I saw the Facebook post, Nicole, about me leaving her because of you. I know, I said. It is a lie, Cole. Everyone knows it is a lie. Not everyone, he said. My mom called me. She asked if it was true. She asked if I was having an affair with my sister-in-law. I closed my eyes. The damage she could do with a single sentence was nuclear. Did you tell her the truth, I asked. I sent her the video, Cole said. The one of Brittany faking the texts. And she cried, Cole said. She said she did not want to believe Brittany could be that calculated. But she saw it. She believes me now. But Nicole, Brittany knows I have the video. She knows I showed it to your parents. And she knows I am filing for divorce. She is cornered, I said. Yes, Cole said. And she is not acting right, Nicole. I called the house to tell her I was coming to get the rest of my things. She did not answer. The house is dark. Her car is gone. Gone? I asked. Where did she go? I do not know, Cole said. But I checked our joint bank account. She withdrew everything. $5,000, in cash. Grant looked up from the map. Cash means she is buying something she does not want tracked, or paying someone, I said. Cole, listen to me, I said into the phone. You need to file the divorce papers today. You need to get it on record. If she does something crazy, you cannot be tied to it. I am meeting the lawyer in an hour, Cole said. And Nicole, I am sorry. I brought this into your life. You did not bring it, I said. You just turned on the lights. I hung up. $5,000. What could she do with $5,000? She could pay a lot of people to make a scene, Drew said quietly. That night was the rehearsal dinner. We had planned a small gathering at a local Italian restaurant, just the bridal party and close friends. No family. Not anymore. I wore a white dress. I curled my hair. I put on lipstick. I tried to look like a bride. But when I looked in the mirror, I saw a soldier putting on war paint. We arrived at the restaurant. Janet was there waiting by the door. She hugged me, and I held on a little too long, smelling her perfume that reminded me of childhood Christmases before everything went wrong. She is not here, Janet whispered in my ear. I drove by your parents' house. Lorraine is home. She was watering the plants. She is not in the hospital, Nicole. I pulled back. She checked herself out. She was never admitted, Janet said. She sat in that ER waiting room for 6 hours playing the martyr. The second the doctors said her heart was fine, she stormed out. Raymond told my husband she discharged herself against medical advice just so she could tell people the hospital failed her. She sat in the ER waiting room for 6 hours, made a scene about chest pains, and then when the doctors said her heart was fine, she walked out. The whole thing was theater. To guilt me, I said. To make me come running. And to make you look like the bad daughter who ignored her dying mother, Janet said. We went inside. The room was warm, filled with candlelight and laughter. My friends were there. People who knew me. People who liked me for who I was, not for what I could do for them. Sarah, my bridesmaid, raised a glass. To Nicole, she said, "Who has been through hell and came back with a tan?" Everyone laughed. I smiled, but my eyes kept darting to the door. Every time it opened, I expected to see her. The white dress, the baby bump, the chaos. But she did not come. The dinner ended. We drove home. The streets of Boulder were quiet. Then my phone buzzed. It was a notification from our home security system. Motion detected at front door. Grant pulled up the camera feed on his phone. We watched in silence as a figure walked up to our porch. It was hooded. It was carrying a bag. "Is that her?" I whispered. The figure stopped. It reached into the bag. Grant pulled the truck over to the curb. We were 2 blocks away. "Call the police," he said. I dialed 911. I watched the screen. The figure pulled out a can. Spray paint. "Oh my God," I said. The figure started spraying the door. Huge, jagged red letters. Thief. Then whore. I watched as Brittany turned to the camera. She pulled down her hood. She looked straight into the lens. She was not crying. She was not manic. She was smiling. A cold, dead smile. Then she turned and walked away, disappearing into the night. The police arrived 5 minutes later. We met them at the house. The red paint was still wet, dripping down the white wood like blood. Officer Miller took my statement. He looked at the video. "That is your sister?" he asked, his pen hovering over his notebook. "Yes," I said. "That is Brittany Keegan." "Do you want to press charges?" he asked. I looked at the door. I looked at Grant. I looked at Drew, who was standing on the lawn, his fists clenched. "Yes," I said. "I want to press charges. Vandalism, harassment, trespassing." Officer Miller nodded. "We will put out a BOL for her vehicle. Is she dangerous?" I thought about the graduation. I thought about the fake texts. I thought about the cash. "Yes," I said. "She is dangerous, because she thinks she is the victim." They left. Grant got a bucket of paint thinner and started scrubbing the door. I stood there watching the red words dissolve into pink smears. "She knows we have cameras," I said. She looked right at it. "Why would she do this?" "Because she wants you to be afraid," Drew said. "She wants you to be looking over your shoulder tomorrow. She wants to ruin the joy, even if she cannot stop the wedding." I went inside. The house smelled of chemicals and fear. I went to my room and sat on the bed. I picked up the photo of Grandma Margaret that I kept on my nightstand. "I am sorry," I whispered to the frame. "I am sorry I could not keep the family together." But then I looked at her eyes. They were sharp, kind, but fierce. She had left me the money for a reason. Not just for a party, but for an escape pod. "I'm not afraid," I said out loud. I slept for 3 hours. When I woke up, it was the wedding day. The sky was a brilliant Colorado blue, not a cloud in sight. I showered. I drank coffee. I put on the robe my bridesmaids had given me. My phone was silent. No texts, no calls. We drove to the venue. The security guards were at the gate. Big men in dark suits. They checked our ID. They checked the trunk. "Clear," one of them said. We drove in. The gardens were breathtaking. The roses were in full bloom. The oak tree stood guard, ancient and wise. I went to the bridal suite. Janet was there steaming my dress. Mary Callahan was laying out the jewelry. "You look beautiful," Mary said, touching my cheek. I looked in the mirror. I looked tired. But I looked real. "Is there any news?" I asked Janet. Janet hesitated. Then she sighed. "Lorraine called me," she said. "And she said she is coming," Janet said. "She said she and Raymond are coming. To make peace." "Peace," I scoffed. "After the spray paint. After the lies." "She says she does not believe Brittany did the paint," Janet said. "She says someone must have framed her. Even with the video, Nicole. She is in complete denial." "Let them come," I said. Janet looked surprised. "Really? If they want to come and watch me get married, they can come," I said. "But they are guests, Janet. Just guests. They are not parents of the bride. They do not get a front row seat. They do not get to make a speech. And if they step one toe out of line, the guards know what to do." "Are you sure?" Drew asked from the doorway. He looked handsome in his tuxedo, but his eyes were worried. "I am sure," I said. "Because if I ban them, they become the victims. They get to tell everyone I kept them away from their daughter's wedding. But if they come, and they see me happy, and they see that I do not need them, that is the real punishment." Drew smiled, a slow, genuine smile. "You are scary, Nick. I learned from the best I said." The ceremony time approached. The guests arrived. I watched from the window. I saw them. My mother in a dress that was a shade too close to white. My father looking like he was attending a funeral. My grandmother Dorothy leaning on her cane, looking sour. They sat in the third row, not the first. The ushers had been instructed. I saw my mother try to argue with the usher. I saw the usher point to the list. I saw her sit down, furious. "Where is Brittany?" I whispered. She was not there. The music started, canon in D. Drew held out his arm. "Ready." "Ready," I said. We walked out into the sunlight. The air smelled of roses and freedom. I saw Grant at the end of the aisle. He was looking at me like I was the only person in the world. I walked past my parents. I did not look at them. I felt their eyes on me, heavy with judgment, but I did not stumble. I reached the altar. Drew kissed my cheek and placed my hand in Grant's. "We did it," Grant whispered. "Not yet," I said, scanning the perimeter. The officiant began to speak. "Dearly beloved," I listened to the words. "Love, honor, cherish." Then I heard it. A sound from the back of the garden. A shout. I turned. At the gate, the security guards were blocking someone. It was a woman. She was wearing a wedding dress, a full ball-gown white tulle dress that looked brand new. $5,000 worth of desperation wrapped in silk and tulle. It was Brittany. She was screaming, "That is my venue. That is my wedding." She tried to push past the guard. He held her back firmly but gently. My mother stood up. "Brittany," she cried, "sit down." Lorraine Janet's voice rang out sharp and commanding. My mother froze. Brittany saw me. She saw me standing at the altar in her spot under her tree. She stopped screaming. She just stared. And then she did the thing she always did. She collapsed. She fell to the ground in a heap of white tulle, sobbing hysterically, clutching her stomach. "My baby!" she screamed. "She is hurting my baby!" The guests gasped. People started to stand up. Grant tightened his grip on my hand. "Do not move," he whispered. I looked at my sister lying in the dirt staging her final performance. I looked at my mother, who was torn between rushing to her and staying in her seat. And I realized something. It was pathetic. It was not scary. It was not powerful. It was just a sad, desperate tantrum of a woman who had never been told no. "Security," I said, my voice projecting clearly over the garden. "Please escort the trespasser off the property and call an ambulance if she is in medical distress." The guard nodded. He spoke into his radio. Brittany stopped screaming. She looked up, shocked that I had not run to her. "You cannot do this," she yelled as two guards lifted her up by her arms. "I am pregnant." "Goodbye, Brittany," I said. They dragged her out. The gate clicked shut. Silence returned to the garden. I turned back to Grant. "I believe we were in the middle of a wedding," I said. Grant smiled. His eyes shone with pride. "Yes," he said. "We were." The officiant cleared his throat. He looked a little shaken, but he continued. "I married Grant Callahan under the oak tree, while my sister sat in the back of a police car outside the gate. I said I do, and I meant every word. When I kissed him, I heard applause. Real applause. I looked at the third row. My parents were sitting there stone-faced, but they were sitting. They had lost. And as I walked back down the aisle, holding my husband's hand, I realized that I had not just won a venue. I had won myself. The applause faded as we walked back down the aisle, but the adrenaline was still humming in my veins. My hand was gripped tight in Grant's. We had done it. We had said the vows. We were married. But the air in the garden was still charged with the static of the confrontation. I could feel the eyes of the guests darting between us and the empty gate where Brittany had been dragged away. I could feel the heavy silence coming from the third row where my parents sat like statues carved from disappointment. We reached the sanctuary of the bridal suite. The door clicked shut, muffling the sound of the reception band starting up outside. I leaned against the wall and let out a breath I felt like I had been holding for 3 years. "Are you okay?" Grant asked, stepping close and putting his hands on my shoulders. I nodded. "I am. I really am." There was a knock on the door. Sharp, authoritative. Janet walked in, followed by Mary Callahan. They both looked flushed, their eyes bright with battle-ready energy. "She is gone," Janet said without preamble. "The police took her. She tried to kick Officer Miller. They charged her with trespassing and assaulting an officer." I closed my eyes. The image of my sister in a wedding dress fighting the police in the dirt of my venue parking lot was something I knew would haunt me. But it was her choice. It was her scene. And Lorraine Mary asked quietly. "She is in the bathroom," Janet said, fixing her mascara. "Raymond is at the bar. They are acting like victims, Nicole. They are telling anyone who will listen that you had your pregnant sister arrested on your wedding day." "Let them talk," I said, pushing off the wall. I smoothed the silk of my dress. I checked my reflection in the mirror. I did not see the scared girl who used to cry in her room. I saw a woman who had just stared down a hurricane. "Are we going out there?" Grant asked. "Yes," I said. "We have a reception to attend, we have cake to cut, and I am not hiding in here while they spin the narrative." We walked out to the reception tent. It was beautiful. Fairy lights strung from the rafters, tables set with white linens and pale roses. The band was playing a soft jazz standard. When we entered, the room went quiet for a beat. Then the applause started again, louder this time, defiant. My friends, Grant's family, my colleagues, they were cheering not just for the marriage but for the victory. We sat at the head table. Drew was next to me. He raised his glass. "To the toughest woman I know," he said. I smiled. "Thank you, Drew." The dinner service began. Salad, chicken, wine, it was all perfect. But I kept watching table 3, my parents' table. They were eating in silence. People were avoiding them, giving them a wide berth like they were contagious. Then Lorraine stood up. She smoothed her dress. She picked up her purse. She started walking toward the head table. "Here we go," Drew murmured. "Do you want me to intercept?" "No," I said. "I will handle this." Lorraine stopped in front of me. She looked older than she had this morning. The lines around her mouth were deep etched with bitterness. "We are leaving," she said. "Okay," I said calmly. "That is it?" she asked, her voice rising slightly. "That is all you have to say. Your sister is in jail, Nicole." "In jail. Because she broke the law." "Mom," I said. "She broke the law because she was desperate," Lorraine hissed. "Because you pushed her. You humiliated her. And now you sit there eating cake while she sits in a cell. How can you live with yourself?" I put down my fork. I looked at my mother. Really looked at her. I saw the fear in her eyes. The fear of a woman who was losing control of the script she had written for 30 years. "I can live with myself just fine," I said, my voice steady enough to carry to the nearby tables. "Because I did not lie, Mom. I did not steal. I did not fake text messages. And I did not enable a monster." Lorraine recoiled as if I had slapped her. "A monster? She is your sister. She is a grown woman," I said. "And you are an accomplice." I stood up. I towered over her in my heels. "I know about the college fund, Mom," I said. Lorraine went pale. The color drained from her face so fast it looked like a magic trick. "What?" she whispered. "I know you stole Drew's college fund," I said. "I know you gave it to Brittany for her car, and I know you helped her get the gate code. 1942, remember." Lorraine looked around wildly. People were staring. She realized she had lost the audience. I did what I had to do," she stammered, "to keep the family together." "No," I said. "You did what you had to do to keep Brittany happy. And you burned the rest of us to keep her warm." I leaned closer. "Go home, Mom. Go bail her out. Do whatever you have to do. But do not ever, ever think you can come back into my life and pretend this didn't happen." Lorraine stared at me. Her mouth opened and closed. Then she turned and walked away. She grabbed Raymond by the sleeve and dragged him out of the tent. I watched them go. I felt a strange lightness in my chest. It was not joy, exactly. It was the absence of a weight I had carried since I was 5 years old. "They are gone," Grant said, taking my hand. "Yeah," I said. "They are." The rest of the night was a blur of dancing and laughter. We cut the cake. We drank the champagne. I danced with Drew. I danced with Tom Callahan. I danced with Janet. And finally, as the band played the last song, Grant and I slipped away. We walked out to the oak tree, the spot where we had stood 3 days ago when everything felt so uncertain. The moon was high and bright. The air was cold, but I did not feel it. I leaned against the rough bark. "It is over," I whispered. Grant wrapped his arms around me from behind. "It is just beginning," he said. My phone buzzed in my pocket. I pulled it out. It was a text from Cole. "Hey, Nicole. I just wanted you to know. I filed the papers. And I went to the station. I gave them the video, the one of her faking the texts. They are adding identity theft and fraud to the charges." I showed the screen to Grant. "He is really doing it," I said. There was another message underneath. Also, Brittany called me from jail. She asked me to bail her out. I told her I used the bail money to buy new tools. I let out a laugh that sounded like a sob. Good for him. She is in a holding cell tonight, Cole wrote. Lorraine is there trying to fix it, but the DA isn't budging. They saw the spray paint video too. I looked up at the stars. Brittany was in a cell. My mother was powerless. And I was standing under my grandmother's tree, married to a man who loved me. Was it worth it? Grant asked quietly. I thought about the last week. The fear, the betrayal, the loss of the family I thought I had. Yes, I said. Because I found out who my real family is. I touched the bark of the tree. Thank you, Grandma, I whispered. We walked back toward the lights of the reception. The music was fading. The guests were leaving. But I was not leaving. Not really. I was standing on ground that I had claimed. Ground that I had defended. I was Nicole Callahan. And for the first time in my life, I was free. Grant opened the car door for me. Ready to go home, Mrs. Callahan? He asked. I looked back at the garden one last time. I already am, I said. For most of my life, I believed my job was to be the family's shock absorber, to quietly absorb the impacts so that everyone else could have a smooth ride. Through this, I learned that true peace is not the absence of conflict. Sometimes peace is the aftermath of a necessary war. I saw that the family I was trying so desperately to please was not real. It was a role I was playing in their story, and I learned that no is not a curse word. It is a complete sentence and the first word in the language of self-respect. And that is the lesson I want to share with you. You might think your story is not as extreme, but I ask you to look at your own life. How many times have you made yourself smaller just to keep the peace at a holiday dinner? Was there a moment when you realized that holding on was more painful than letting go? You are allowed to protect your own happiness, even from the people who are supposed to love you most. Love should never cost you your own identity. Share your own story in the comments below. Let us know we are not alone.